In this game, Baptiste plays black, Cassian plays white. The game started in a very usual way. Joseki, this approach makes a lot of sense. If we don't play, then white expands Moyom, and then white attached. This is a bit early. There are so large open areas on this board, but still white goes into black's area, though it's a good move to destroy black's area, even though probably a more common way is to jump in like this, but the attachment also makes sense. And then black extended here. A usual way is to play Atari. White needs to extend down and then to block. Then to block. And white can still get something on the outside, but it's not a big gain. Instead, black plays this move, after which it might be possible for white to make life, right? It should be possible or not. I am sorry, it is not possible this way. What is the way? Of course, it is something else. Uh-huh. Unclear. I am not sure if it's possible to make life unconditionally. But instead, white chose a different way, which makes a lot of sense to play on the outside. Yes, and split black. So, if black played Atari, theoretically white also has this possibility. But now black would very happily capture white stone and not leave any agi in the corner shape. So now this is a good position for black. Also, it's good if white plays Atari from the other side. If we can capture a stone, take a Ponuki, we are happy. It's very easy to assess it. It is very similar to such a play, but worse for white because of the throw-in, which makes black much stronger, and for endgame it will matter. If ever white connects there, there will be no continuation. Yeah, so this would be good for black. If black extended, then it's possible to Atari. Now black counterattacks with this move, makes sense, but maybe also possible to descend. What would white do? If white plays here, then black can Atari, and maybe it's better because now white doesn't have a counter Atari. In the game, white had a counter Atari. What would white do? Would white play here? It looks very important to play that move, but maybe also this is possible, or Tenuki. Then white can get something in the corner, all right, and now white made a mistake. Not a big mistake, but quite an obvious one. There is no point in playing this move because locally, anyway, this is a good move for black, after which white can play this exchange if white ever wants, but also white doesn't need to do it. And after the exchange, it's the same. So about black's options, it's the same. But about white's options, well, one thing is that we lose a co-thread, but this is a smaller argument. The more important argument is that if we don't play that exchange, then in the future we also have a good move here, which gives us an eye for sure, unless black doesn't answer, in which case we can descend and, well, even we could say destroy black's eye space. So this was a not needed exchange. Then black attacks. A usual move would be to connect, and then we need to run. Luckily, we have an option to live in a coin in the corner or create a bend 4, which is sometimes also not completely dead if outside the black's groups are not completely alive. Maybe an attachment is better. Why did I show a simple extension? It was too simple-minded. Yeah, but white wants to get something from the outside and goes. Now black could theoretically cut, after which white would play from the outside, and black is able to capture white stones, but white loses by 1 liberty, and the famous lesson is that if we lose by capturing race by 1 liberty, it's not very painful because we get center moves on the outside. So this would be acceptable for white. White indeed gets a strong shape on the outside. That's why black pushes once more. If now white extends, then black. Actually, does it make sense? Now still this move is center, isn't it? It's not completely center because here it's a got Seki for white. All right, so now it's not completely center. So after black pushes once more, black will be already happy to cut white. That's why white connected, but black still gets a Hana on the head of 3 stones, and that's why the variation chosen by white is not ideal, because in the end, the Hana which black gets is pretty comfortable. If this was a Hana on the head of 4 stones, then it's not really painful. We are usually not afraid of Hanas on the head of 4 stones, but Hanas on the head of 2 stones or 3 stones are quite painful. So maybe not a good idea to push black down. Maybe better to let black play a move on the outside already now and not now. Maybe now black is stronger than in this simple variation. And then also another possibility, play a knight's move, which might lead to a bit different variations. Maybe the simplest one being this one, in which black's Hana is not that painful because we have such a move. Probably now white's shape is better than in the actual game. Let's move to the actual game. This move of black is much too slow. Black could go up or maybe even jump because wedge is not really a problem. Similarly as the cut, we can simply extend. But an extend up makes a lot of sense. Maybe black didn't like that peep, which white can use. But black is very strong around here, and white would be only creating a weak group while the group on the other side is still not completely alive. So it's not necessarily a good idea for white. Black would create a territory on the other side. So usually it's not a very good idea to go into a narrow space because then our opponent anyway gets territory, just not in that narrow space, but on the other side by attacking our group. The only argument for going into the narrow space is that we can attack a group of the opponent. So the question is whether we consider black's group now attackable. Unclear question. This Nobi was very slow, but now black attacks, white ignores. Why not go in? This would be a strange direction of play for black, but on the other hand, this would give white a beautiful connection of the stones. So I think it's advisable to continue after approaching the opponent's corner. Why not? We approached, we expected an answer. Our opponent didn't answer, so we continue. This is the lesson which I like to teach to more beginner players, maybe single-digit Q players. Sometimes they don't continue their center move, but yeah, sometimes apparently all players have this strange thinking that, oh, our opponent didn't answer, maybe actually he's right, and maybe our continuation is not great. But all right, it's also a very good move. Then black encloses white. And now if I was white, I think that I would just make life. White first, maybe good exchanges actually made by white because they give white a possibility of playing from the outside. It's a bit paradoxical. It seems that it gives black stones on the outside, but in fact it gives white stones on the outside. Then black destroys an eye around here. and continues by putting a lot of pressure on white. So now it's a bit painful to simply make live because black can capture 3 white stones. Unfortunate, so we try to play more actively, maybe make an eye on the outside would be great, but black follows with very direct moves. And right now, white is forced to making life like this, but before doing so, white would really like to win this call. It looks like white's privilege, then only then white will need to go back. But black is audacious and black doesn't connect. In fact, even if black loses the call, it's not such a big loss. White gets 6, 7, 8. Here a continuation is like 6 points, so 14. 14 points. And black gets only one move on the outside, right? Because if black connected, then anyway, black would get the move on the outside. Black's connection would be center. So we can get 14 points. How to approach it? Our opponent doesn't get 14 points in center, but instead he gets 2 moves on the outside, right? So actually, winning the call by white is quite big, and maybe it's worth it to ignore such a threat. It might be big enough to simply finish the call. Yes, but white answers. The answer is unreasonable because it creates threats for the opponent, and the call is much more heavy for white actually. So it would be a better idea to play such a move. Black takes, then white has luckily some local threats, and then the next move can be already ignored more easily, though the first move could be ignored as easily. Well, unless we were afraid of this continuation by black. Yeah, so we can ignore the next move. Sorry, I was here. And still live in the corner with no problem. Is this the way? Yes, white is alive even after black's move. Mm, though this is center. Yeah, maybe this is the way. Though making life here is also not spectacular. It's not spectacular. All right. Anyway, it was unreasonable for white to raise the stakes on the left side. Now white uses such a threat. Why not this? Is this not a threat? If black ignores? Well, actually, black doesn't ignore like this. Black tries to kill our group, so, which is amazing because now we can certainly get this in center. We capture and I like this. White is dead. Mm. White dies. Is it bad for white? Well, the compensation is big because there is that very unstable situation on the left side, which gets much nicer for white after capturing the outside stone. So actually, maybe it's possible to think of playing this threat, even though it doesn't threaten making life. But luckily, black cannot finish the call like this. Black needs to finish the call like that. And then we actually get quite much. Yes, it looks like a forced variation. There is no different way. Is this a possible move? It is a possible move, yes. Yeah. How to judge? Very difficult to judge. 10, 20, 13, 14, 15, 16. Black has easily 60 points. Maybe now black continues there or probably here, but more than 60. But white has, well, let's say 20. And then difficult to say. Of course, white has potential, but maybe it's not enough. At least I would be a little bit scared of playing like this. So white chooses this threat, which is very painful, unfortunately. But then maybe it's better to play like this. Also not amazing. Maybe that other threat was better. So all right, white uses this uninspired threat. And now another cost starts, so now white cannot win 2 costs. Though white can simply play here. What's the issue? That we don't have threats. We don't have threats. Yes. So probably white is forced to capturing this stone, but then it's not amazing result. Not an amazing result for white. Yeah, just this wedge was a bad choice, unfortunately. It's not a usual Joseki, right? And now the threatening the core is locally the correct move, but we cannot play it in this local position where black has threats against our group, at least one. If we want to keep it only at 1, keep the counter at 1, then we need to answer in a submissive way also. And then what shall we do? Connect, then black can be satisfied even by a simple connection. So white wins the core, but then black kills the group, and the compensation is not big enough. Black is satisfied. I don't understand this direction choice, but all right. Like maybe this would be a better choice because we can build a big left side, and the right side is open from below, right? It is here open, so it's much easier for black to go in. For now, black goes in on the right side. This push, okay, it's possible. It's a bit like saying that black is much ahead, but it is actually true. Yeah, this is a huge move, maybe bigger than that one. And then, yeah, the game continues, but black has already gained so much on the top that we would need a miracle to change the game result. Maybe let's try to be as severe as possible, but this would mean that we lose the game in a few moves, so white was a bit more patient. But yeah, it seems that there is no way to compensate for that loss. Black played in a very simple manner and was satisfied just with reducing white on the left side, not even reducing the bottom side, and still kept a big advantage. So this is it about the game. It finished a bit quickly because it was already very good for black already when that core has finished, the first com. Yeah, so black's move here makes sense because it's not a one move, it's actually two moves. If white plays elsewhere, then the continuation is centered. That's why I say that it's two moves. Now white needs to continue, and black played in a very powerful manner. Maybe the correct way was to block. Then if black wants to keep pressure, black needs to play like this. Maybe an extension is better. White lives, but actually is it so great for black? There is still that weak point. And maybe this move didn't foresee that counter of black, which was quite annoying. After which the Kohe started, and in this ko, white made a few bad decisions, and the game was over. Yeah, so this is it, and let's move to the next game. I think that this review was quite long.